I remember back when I played No More Heroes for the first time, as it introduced itself to me like a kick in the teeth from a steel-toed boot. It was wild, it was vulgar, it was violent, the antithesis of everything the Nintendo Wii marketed itself as in 2007. No less to be expected from the mind of the man considered punk rock by the video games industry. But while No More Heroes is undoubtedly one of the most stylish games of the 7th console generation, underneath that shiny surface was also a story about a cruel, unforgiving life of crime, and a man who'd become trapped in it, struggling to escape the most irredeemable of situations as a dirty desire and addiction continued to drag him back in. Travis Touchdown, the human embodiment of the YouTube comment section, kneels at the mercy of the United Assassins Association, an underground organization that pits the city's most dangerous killers against one another in brutal fights to the death, each victory ensuring ascension up the ranking ladder. But with the acquisition of a new rank, providing immense fortune and notoriety for anyone brave enough to claim it, also comes the consequence of ever breathing easy again. Travis now having to remain forever vigilant of up-and-coming rival competitors gunning for his spot. No More Heroes is stupid and needlessly dramatic, but it's also so much fun and is effortlessly flashy, remaining one of, if not my favorite game on the Wii. And having just been ported to the Nintendo Switch, I thought now would be as good a time as any to discuss why I think it's an incredible game that's worth your time and attention. Because underneath every clash between Travis and a gaggle of gimps, or odd jobs where he collects kittens, is a story about a man who wants to better himself through hard work and overcoming adversity, highlighting the struggle, uncertainty, and eventual triumph of what occurs when asked what the right thing to do is in a situation where everyone is morally corrupt. So to begin, I'd like to talk about Travis and his fellow assassins, and how these broken people who have nothing waiting for them back in society lend themselves to this game's diabolical premise, as it's these confrontations that No More Heroes prides itself on and excels at. So let's say we detail why these clashes are so important, what it is they do so well, and how it gets us to care about the very same people that commit unspeakable acts of violence, commencing with our central combatant, Travis Touchdown. At the core of this experience is a foul-mouthed, trash-talking, cold-blooded killer, a man who defeats even the most sadistic of foes with a smirk on his face. Travis Touchdown is also a dreamer, with aspirations of the fame and fortune that comes with being the #1 rank. Having fallen into the opportunity from a chance meeting on a night out, Travis seemingly dropped everything in his life to pursue notoriety, desperate to become the king of the underworld purely for the lifestyle that comes with it. Travis Touchdown is also a garbage human being, just the dirt worst of society. I mean, his involvement in the UAA is equally motivated by the half-promise of sex. But I'd be lying here if I said that Travis isn't incredibly entertaining to play as, because while his gross attitude doesn't make him sympathetic, what it does make him is human. If we were to compare the personality of Travis Touchdown to one of the many other fellow quipping murder machine protagonists, such as, let's say Nathan Drake is a completely random example, we'd notice that Drake's flaws aren't nearly as pronounced, and are certainly never displayed within the gameplay. We might be shown a cutscene designed to denounce him as addicted to the adventure, unable to walk away as he continues to drag those he loves most into the most dangerous of situations with him, but we're never really led to believe that he's an outright bad person for doing so. Even though he makes mistakes, he's ultimately to be cheered for, only for the gameplay to then have him go and do this. You know, the old crack a few jokes right before cracking a few necks, like a psychopath does. This is an example of something that's come to be known as ludonarrative dissonance, when the narrative of a video game story or character does not match that of the gameplay performed by the player. In this instance, Nathan Drake is the lovable, charming goofball, here to save the day and the woman, as all his peers look on in admiration, only for him to rack up a body count in the hundreds. as the game and the characters within it give zero acknowledgement to his mass murdering tendencies. Now, it doesn't ruin the experience when a game is like this. In fact, Uncharted 4 even acknowledges the phenomenon with a wink and a nudge, but I think it does help with character and immersion specifically when personality and gameplay are cohesive. Part of the reason why I adore No More Heroes is because both Travis's personality and actions are filth, and that's acknowledged by the game. Meaning it isn't shocking when he resorts to outbursts of violence to settle conflict, because it's been established here that it's kind of all he knows. In fact, this type of consistent character work only makes it all the more powerful a moment when he does decide to show remorse or mercy for a fellow assassin. No More Heroes is also incredibly refreshing, as Travis isn't portrayed as all-powerful either. He's left with egg on his face constantly, and he isn't cracking jokes nearly as much as he is the punchline of them, consistently embarrassed by the UAA and his rival assassins. And it's this goofier, more delusional side of Travis that I'd like to show you here, as it's what transforms the story of No More Heroes into something more. You see, outside of these fights, the life of Travis Touchdown is just sad. He is a man who participates in the killing game with this swagger, beckoning the other ranked assassins with this seething bravado, only to return home to a life that's heartbreaking. Living in this vomit yellow motel room with a cat that doesn't have time for him, amongst body pillows that need to be replaced and mounting DVD rentals that he has zero intentions of returning. I don't even want to know what this place would smell like. Within these walls, the facade of this ruthless mercenary disappears to reveal a dweeb who loves anime and wrestling and old video games, as you realize the badass personality you assumed he had upon picking up the game exists only in his head. I mean, who even collects figures and retro consoles? This guy is such a loser. It's a living space that feeds into this idea that his entire existence feels claustrophobic. Not only is he trapped within a blood sport, he also resides in the rundown town of Santa Destroy, which is, for lack of a better term, a shithole. There's nothing going on here. Your favorite band's tour bus would drive right by this place with the windows rolled up. It's totally devoid of any identity, as it starts to become apparent that Travis took this opportunity because prior, his life was completely unremarkable. And not only does No More Heroes convey this through its superb cutscenes and environmental storytelling within his apartment, but it also shows us this through the gameplay, highlighting his lack of financial stability as he struggles to pay an increasingly expensive entrance fee to begin each assassination, leaving him with no option but to take on odd jobs to earn enough money to enter. Meaning, between these fight scenes straight out of a shonen manga, the heightened adrenaline comes crashing back down to reality as you mow lawns, pick up litter, and scrub graffiti for cash. Now, I'm completely aware that it kind of undermines my argument for this game here when I'm trying to sell you on the part where you complete literal chores, but I do so because I think they serve an equally important purpose to the narrative as the fights, as this downtime not only helps convey Travis's character to us, but this is where we also begin to slowly build the tension and stakes for the most engaging part of the game. Because now, we've seen what it takes for Travis to enter a ranked fight, how tough it was for him to get to this point, what he's sacrificed to earn his spot. Finally aware of what his life is, we realize that this is a man who is desperate to win because he has nothing else. The preceding fights no longer looking like clashes between two despicable husks masquerading as human, but like a monumental clash between David and Goliath. See, the bosses are initially built up as intriguing mystery opponents when you enter the level, as you're given a hint of who they might be via a slick and menacing introduction graphic, leaving you for the entire level to ponder who they'll be based purely on name and silhouette alone. Upon getting to them, you're rewarded with these well-directed and written cutscenes, where we get that grand reveal, as No More Heroes hints at the beating heart of these sinister psychopaths. While the game doesn't reveal everything about them, you can tell that every boss in the game was given intricate backstories that are as detailed and engaging as Travis's, as so much information here is conveyed to us through its succinct and punchy dialogue, voice acting, and visual direction. I mean, look at how much we can infer within seconds as we watch this introductory cutscene for the number 10 ranked boss, Death Metal. Here's a gruff, shredded guy covered in Yakuza tattoos sitting poolside swishing a glass of wine. I don't have to show you any more of him or even what he sounds like for you to create a pretty accurate image in your head of who this man is, what he values, and the kind of path he's walked that led him to this lifestyle. In fact, character designs are by far the strongest aspect of No More Heroes design, and that's in a game spilling with god-tier voice acting, writing, and music. I mean, you only have to glance at anything lead artist Yusuke Kazaki has worked on, from AI The Somnium Files to Fire Emblem Awakening, to immediately recognize that this is a man who is quite good at his job, as all the bosses here have been designed with that same thought and care as Death Metal. Made up of outfits and body types that immediately indicate personality or occupation or position within society. I mean, through shape and silhouette alone, we can gauge a lot about these people, their attitude, and their fighting style. As for the actual fights themselves, the clashes with these bosses feel like these desperate scraps for survival. It's not a stylish music video against an enormous boss who have to hit the glowing weak points, it's just old school, one-on-one, two lads beating the piss out of each other until someone falls down. The way it should be. Seeing the levels, Travis is an unstoppable killing machine. Trapped in a room with a dozen goons, he will behead every last one of them with ease. It's a complete power fantasy. Getting an opponent to 0 health takes a matter of seconds as you seal their fate with a vicious killing blow performed by swinging the Joy-Cons. For a mechanic that sounds gimmicky, I can't even begin to explain how satisfying it is to perform that single, swift swipe. It's like the violent equivalent of slamming a book closed, the exclamation mark that concludes the conflict, only for you to stroll into the boss room to receive a shocking wake-up call as your attacks are effortlessly parried and knocked back, simply denying you the ability to deliver that killing blow as they implement their own aggressive strategies. In a complete 180 from the levels, the boss fights feel isolating and dangerous, as everything the bosses throw at you here is backed by this thumping, banging soundtrack, courtesy of industry legend Masafumi Takada, that has zero regard for establishing atmosphere, functioning solely as the backing track to your demise. It's the kind of grimy, pounding techno that you'd hear in a dirty rave club played by one of those DJs that wears a spooky clown mask. Which is why, upon killing them, you feel this overwhelming mixture of achievement, relief, triumph, and exhaustion. Almost as if you'd caught them on another day, the result would have been entirely different. Apart from being the highlight of the gameplay, these boss fights also serve an important narrative function. Not only existing as obstacles for Travis to overcome, but they're also the catalyst for his eventual growth, as the game continues to reveal its darker core. Because as Travis ascends the ranking ladder, there comes a point where he has just had enough. He is a man without a minute's reprieve as he lives this exhausting life as both prey and predator, stuck within this twisted killing game where the competition is only getting tougher, where each victory becomes less and less convincing, where eventually he's barely able to walk away from these fights with his life. By the time he rises to the top few spots, Travis is a broken and bruised body riddled with guilt and remorse. You watch him go from someone who initially just about got off on killing to someone who isn't okay with this anymore as he's dragged deeper into this hellhole by those closest to him, marching towards the increasingly pointless title of #1 ranked assassin purely because it's all he has left. And watching this all play out is weird and sad, as we witness the clashing of larger-than-life personalities and how the desire for power completely changes them, in a story that details how the bad deeds of your past will inevitably come back to haunt you. A message that stood out to me as so specifically human that I'm honestly shocked it came to exist in a video game at all. As to me, No More Heroes feels like a relic of an older age, the pinnacle of what I guess you'd call the AA experience. It's a market that isn't nearly as prominent as it once was, due in part to the rise of indie development, but mostly because video games just cost too much to make now. I mean, why would an established studio ever take a risk on something like this? This being the video game equivalent of a B-movie or grindhouse film. And I don't mean it in the sense that it's something that deliberately sets out to be schlocky or pulpy or quote-unquote bad, but in the fact that this is a story that someone genuinely believed in, giving everything they had to make the most meaningful art they could with the hand they were dealt. As regardless of the issues that plague it, No More Heroes contains a soul. And playing through it, that's something that you can feel. I mean, I don't think that it's a coincidence that a game where a man takes menial labor jobs in order to progress was designed by a man who'd previously worked as an undertaker in order to pay the bills. No More Heroes could only exist as the result of an individual's extremely personal, singular vision. It's a game with such vulnerability and heart that I can't help but become excited by the prospect of No More Heroes 3 and the endless potential that this medium has. Because despite its limited budget, despite the deadlines, despite first existing on a console with inferior hardware, No More Heroes is this defiant flipping of the bird towards industry trends and creative boundaries to become something that's infinitely more interesting and real. And that's a message that made me fall in love with creating media in the first place. Thanks for watching.